Netflix continues to turn the heat up in July, where they're adding a ton of stuff, including some series that are coming back, as well as some brand new Netflix originals that look absolutely dynamite. In fact, July is so packed with brand new titles. I've got something new almost every single day in July here on this list. Thanks to AG1 for sponsoring another video. But before talking about all the brand new stuff and all the stuff that's leaving Netflix in July, let's talk about the familiar favorites they're going to be adding on July 1st, including Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness. Personally, I've never gotten into Star Trek, have never watched the shows or anything like that, but thoroughly enjoyed the first Star Trek reboot and liked the second one good enough, but these are going to be two of the bigger blockbusters coming to Netflix this month. Another couple of big movies include Snow White and the Huntsman, which actually stars Chris Hemsworth and Kristen Stewart in this darker tale of Snow White. In fact, this really doesn't resemble the Snow White you're familiar with at all, and it's a pretty cool flick. And there's a fairly cool sequel titled The Huntsman: Winter's War. Not my top picks for the month. In fact, they're a little bit forgettable, but fairly entertaining for the first watch. Cobra Kai fans should get excited because they're adding the entire original Karate Kid trilogy. The first one being the best of the bunch. In fact, it's really the best of the entire franchise, including the show, but it is cool that they're adding the entire trilogy. But that's not the only trilogy. They're also going to be adding the entire Rush Hour trilogy, which is just always good for a couple of laughs.
Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Are you deaf?
No, you is blind.
You.
Yes?
Not you, him. What's your name?
Me.
Yes, you.
I am me. He's me, and I'm you.
If you want even more laughs, they're also going to be adding Bridesmaids, which is one of the better written comedies to have come out in the past 20 years or so. And then one of the raunchier comedies to come out in the past 20 plus years is The Sweetest Thing, starring Christina Applegate and Cameron Diaz. Not only are they both absolutely smoking hot in this movie, but the movie itself is pretty funny as well. In fact, it's pretty raunchy compared to things that are made today. Some other classics they're adding on the first include the original Jumanji, Uncle Buck, which is just an all-time classic.
Take this quarter. Go downtown and have a rat gnaw that thing off your face. Good day to you, madam.
White House Down? That's the one with Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx, which is decent, but I kind of like the Gerard Butler White House movie a little bit better. And Warm Bodies, which is a cool movie starring Nicholas Hoult as a zombie. It's kind of a zombie romantic comedy and should be a good Netflix watch this month. Now, before moving on to everything new they're adding this month, let me tell you about today's sponsor, AG1 by Athletic Greens. Longtime subscribers may have noticed I'm in better shape than I was back when I originally started this channel. And it's because I've added a lot of things to my routine. The big one being exercise, which I do several times a week now, almost every day now. It just helps me to feel better than ever. I'm not tired like I used to be, even though I'm almost 40 years old. And adding AG1 to my daily diet has been a great addition as well. If you don't know, AG1 is a convenient powder that you mix with an 8-ounce glass of water. Super easy to knock back. It doesn't have that green taste that a lot of green drinks can have, yet it is absolutely packed with vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and adaptogens, making it a quick, easy, and convenient way for me to load up on all of the vitamins and things that I would get from a leafy green diet, giving me plenty of room to load up on protein to build muscles the way I want. But right now, my viewers are also going to get a free gift that includes a year's supply of vitamin D3 and K2 when they use my link in the video description below. And you're going to get all this stuff. The nice big bag of Athletic Greens, the metal container for storing it in the fridge, the bottle, the scoop, all top quality stuff. And they're going to give you 5 extra travel packs of AG1 as well. So go to my link in the description. It's a fantastic product. I really feel better than I ever have in my life, and I have AG1 to thank in part for that. But let's go ahead and talk about all the new stuff coming to Netflix this month. On July 3rd, they're adding new docuseries that'll have new episodes released every single week titled Unknown. Now, this series will focus more on emerging technologies, including killer robots and the James Webb Telescope, 2 things I'm very interested in. They've even got one about a lost pyramid that appears to be thousands of years older than expected, so interesting stuff. Hopefully it's pretty well produced. count them, two of my all-time top favorite comedians, and I'm talking like top 5 or 6, have brand new specials on Netflix this month. The first being Tom Segura on July 4th. His new special, Sledgehammer, is bound to be fantastic. It even looks like he filmed it in the round, which is pretty cool. I've been following his comedy for at least 10 years. He's at the top of his game right now. I'm looking forward to this one for sure. I'll probably be watching it on July 4th. And then, like I said, they got something new almost every day. On the 5th, they're releasing a WHAM documentary. That's George Michael's famous band. Even if you don't have any interest in bands from the 80s, this looks like a deep dive into what it was like to be a rock star back then. So I imagine people my age and up will be down for that. On the 6th, they bring back The Lincoln Lawyer for season 2. Volume 1, they're going to be splitting this one up, but the other half should be available next month. And then on the 7th, there's a brand new Netflix original comedy movie with Pierce Brosnan that looks fantastic. It's titled The Outlaws.
Do I look cool?
Yeah, you look like James Bond.
Which one?
5.
Well, that was a good one.
In this movie, Adam from Workaholics learns that his new soon-to-be in-laws are actually outlaws, bank robbers, and it looks really funny. It does look like a Netflix original, sort of made-for-TV movie, but I'm a fan of everyone involved. I mean, not only them, but you've got Ellen Barkin, Nina Dobrev, Michael Rooker, and Blake Anderson, also from Workaholics, so it looks like it's going to be right up my alley. On the 8th, they add a big budget movie that was just recently in theaters. It's already coming to Netflix. Often a sign that it's not very good. 65, starring Adam Driver. While I did watch this one, this movie promises way more than it delivers. However, I do think it's possible to enjoy this movie if you go into it with low to no expectations, but there's a lot better stuff getting added to Netflix this month. On July 10th, they add Captain Underpants, the first epic movie, a movie that has made me chuckle all the way through. This is a really funny movie that is just filled with potty humor. Kid-appropriate potty humor for the most part. I find it to be really silly and fairly well written, again, for a kid's movie like this. And then if you're into real weird stuff, on the 11th, they're adding Vivarium. Now, this is one I have reviewed. It's been over on Prime Video for a while. This is not for people who do not like super weird stuff, but this is a real mind bender that's got some grating elements to it, but it is a thinker of a movie as well, so if you do like super weird stuff, then Vivarium might be a good pick for you this month. But even though I somewhat enjoyed it, it's a real hard one to recommend, so tread lightly. And then on the 12th, they add another Netflix original documentary titled Quarterback. This looks to focus specifically on Patrick Mahomes. If you don't know, he's the star quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, and the way Netflix handles these sports documentaries, generally you don't have to have any interest in the sport or the person to thoroughly enjoy the way they put these things together. I generally only recommend one family movie per month, kind of the best recommendation of what's coming to Netflix, but I love Captain Underpants, and they're also adding the new Puss in Boots, which I thought was a fantastic movie. It was out in theaters, I believe, at the end of 2022, and it's been available on Peacock for a while, but it actually has a really stunning visual style. Even though it's a spin-off of Shrek, they have a new sort of hand-painted style with this movie, and I thought it was great. And then it goes into these big, over-the-top fantasy directions that kind of worked for me. It actually doesn't feel like a Shrek spin-off at all. But then on the 14th is kind of the biggest movie of the month. Even if it's not my strongest recommendation, it's certainly the one that Netflix has been bracing for a while now, and that's Bird Box Barcelona. Now, this is technically a sequel to Bird Box, but it takes place in Barcelona around the same time as the events of Bird Box. To me, I think this is really cool. Even if the movie is sort of mediocre, I like this direction. I wish Netflix made more sequels from their hit movies. I know they do it sometimes, but in my opinion, they don't do it enough, and they haven't done enough to build up really long-lasting franchises. If we get lucky and Bird Box Barcelona tops the original, then we might be looking at a pretty decent franchise out of Netflix.
You want the hammer?
I want the hammer.
Then go get the hammer.
Okay, enough of that nasty.
Baby, no.
On the 16th, they add Ride Along with Kevin Hart and Ice Cube. Not the best Kevin Hart movie, but a decent one for Kevin Hart fans for sure. And then on the 19th, another documentary I'm very interested in titled The Deepest Breath. This is about deep divers, I guess we'll call a hobby that I find very, very interesting. If you don't know, some of these people go to extreme depths. So this is just one that piques my interest. I'm definitely gonna be checking it out this month. And then on the 21st, the movie I've been the most interested in from Netflix probably all summer. In fact, I almost hopped on a flight down to Miami to get an early look at They Cloned Tyrone.
Excuse me, kind sir, but if you could point me to the elevator that leads down to the freaky laboratory,
Don't let the back door on.
I'll be out your atmosphere. Let's get it, man.
Now this is from a first-time director, so it could be a miss, but everything I've heard about They Cloned Tyrone sounds absolutely fantastic. In this movie, you've got a trio of people that include John Boyega in kind of his first big movie since Star Wars, and Jamie Foxx dressed like a total pimp. And this looks like a clever, pulpy movie with all sorts of interesting elements, the costume design, and just the concept that these people stumble across, like a government conspiracy that's cloning people. Should be pretty wild stuff. I call them like I see them, and They Cloned Tyrone looks like dynamite stuff.
I see this shit fucked up. They out here cloning this. What the fuck going on in this bitch?
That's right, that is the prevailing theory.
They're also going to be adding one of the more interesting Tim Burton movies released in the last 10 years, Big Eyes, which stars Amy Adams and Christoph Waltz. This is actually based on a true story about a husband who basically stole his wife's art and passed it off as his own. And then on the 25th, another one of my just absolute favorite comedians, Mark Normand, has a brand new special titled Soup to Nuts. If you've never seen him before, go check out his last special from last year. It's free on YouTube. It's titled Out to Lunch.
One of my friends is like a beer expert. You know, he's like, we gotta go to a brewery. I'm like, why can't we just go to a bar? He's like, it's fun. You can see how it's made. I don't care how it's made. Look, I like porn. I don't need to go to a broken home.
In fact, I will put a link to it in the top pinned comment down below, where you can also find the full list of all the titles we're discussing in this video, as always. On the 27th, there's an incredibly interesting sci-fi flick from Germany titled Paradise. This takes place in a future where no one ages unless you need to pay your insurance or something like that. A man's wife has to give up 40 years as payment, and he's trying to bring it back. The concept alone looks interesting, but the trailer itself actually looks pretty exceptional. So this is another one I'll be checking out, but if you're new to the channel, I watch these movies every month, and then if they're solid, they end up making it onto future lists. So be on the lookout for Paradise on a future list. Also on the 27th, they bring back The Witcher for Season 3, Volume 2, which will be the conclusion of Henry Cavill's run as Geralt. I know a lot of people are pissed about it. I get it. They like him in the role, and Netflix is canning him, and you don't understand why. My guess is that even though he's not Superman anymore, he's still just too expensive for them to justify on the show. They're trying to replace him with Liam Hemsworth, that's Chris Hemsworth's little brother. And I'm not saying he's gonna kill it, but I've seen him in some killer roles in these two movies. So if you want a little preview of how good he actually can be, definitely check out one of these two. But he won't be the Witcher for another year, maybe longer. And honestly, if you were a fan of Henry Cavill, you gotta at least watch him wrap up the role. And then before telling you everything leaving in July, you know, so you can catch those titles before they're gone too, they're adding another documentary titled How to Become a Cult Leader. Now, Netflix has several documentaries on cults, but this one seems to focus on the effectiveness of various cult leaders, which should be pretty interesting. It looks like they'll pack details from a lot of different cult leaders into this one, but here is everything leaving Netflix in the month of July. If you're new to the channel, welcome, but the date I am showing you is the date it is gone, which means you need to watch these titles prior to the date listed. But that is the list. Thanks again to AG1 for sponsoring another video. Don't forget to check out their link in the video description below. But you will see me on the next one.